India's space program pays far less for its skilled workforce than any other space agency. The average aerospace engineer in India gets paid around $10,000, whereas in America, the same job would pay 8 times more. This massive difference in cost allows India to undercut other countries on the cost to manufacture each rocket. Although most of India's rockets are only designed to launch small payloads, in some cases, the cost for launching on an Indian rocket is 70% cheaper than other options. The PSLV is India's workhorse rocket, and it has a surprisingly low launch cost of just $15 million. In 2017, it pulled off a mission that stunned space programs around the world by launching an incredible 104 satellites into orbit. Despite the extra engineering required to pull this off, sharing the launch cost between so many people made the cost for each satellite company extremely cheap. But India's cheap workforce is only half of what makes their rockets so affordable. Instead of outsourcing rocket parts to foreign companies, India gets most of its materials from local companies. Although they might be able to find more advanced components elsewhere, keeping all of the parts in-house saves India up to 50% in overall costs. Utilizing the expertise of other companies is a common theme in spaceflight. Now that the technology required to get into orbit is much more obtainable, it has allowed private companies like SpaceX and Rocket Lab to make a massive impact in the spaceflight community. But this is one area that holds India back. Although it's not illegal for India's private companies to enter space, the laws and regulations make it almost impossible for private space ventures to be set up. Until recently, a new space bill has been written to allow the private sector to develop their own rockets and satellites. Traditionally, ISRO have contracted private companies to design and manufacture their rockets and spacecraft. Now, private companies can spend their own time and money in developing more advanced spacecraft for interplanetary missions. Although India has experience with this, their interplanetary missions in the past have been limited in terms of what they can discover. But this isn't a fault of India's space program. This is by choice. A common theme that runs through India's space program is high ambition paired with a low budget. India always wanted to go to the Moon and Mars, and they didn't let their small budget stop them. The Mars Orbiter mission, which launched in 2013, made India only the 4th space agency to successfully get to Mars, and they did it on their first attempt. They also did this on a shoestring budget of just $74 million, a fraction of what other space agencies typically spend. Apart from making their spacecraft small and simple, India likes to keep the overall duration of the mission as short as possible. NASA has multiple missions that have spanned decades and racked up enormous running costs. From the initial conception to the end of operation, India's missions are designed to only run for a few years. So although India's capabilities and achievements might not be on the same scale as NASA, their incredible ambition and clever cost efficiency has allowed them to become one of the world's key players in the space community.